I have a theory, and the theory is I have figured out a way to truly tell whether or not you believe the Memphis Grizzlies, as presently constructed, can be good this season. All it would cost is one little itty bitty teeny weeny tiny whiny Zion Williamson. Let's lock in on this Friday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. Let's get Zion, Damichael.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Friday. You have got to get down on this Friday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. As the wise philosopher Rebecca Black once said, fun. Looking forward to the weekend. We are partying here on Locked On Grizzlies. It is I, Ja Morant, one of your hosts, senior contributor over at Beale Street Bears, writer over at the Grizzly Bear Blues Substack, and I am joined by the incomparable, the tremendously talented, the probably jealous that he does not have snow where he is. I have snow. I have a snow day. It's wonderful. I'm excited. The energy is good. Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. But the energy would be good whether or not there was snow because we are together on this Friday edition of the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. It is Friday, Joe. We got to get down on Friday. We're definitely going to get down today. So,
absolutely. Yes, we're coming in hot to start off the program. And there's no other way to come.
There's no other way to do it.
Friday. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcasting network out there. Thank you so much for helping us be a small part of that success. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube, literally anywhere you can watch or listen to Damichael and myself. Make sure you're doing so. Become an everydayer and hang out with us each and every time that an episode drops, because you will get hashtag content like I have to start off the show today. Damichael, I have a tendency to blow up Grizzlies Twitter every once in a while, and I did it again. Oops, I did it again. Britney Spears style. Zion Williamson coming to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for John Conchar, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Brandon Clark, and the 2026 first-round pick from the Memphis Grizzlies, unprotected, Damichael Cole. Now, you might be sitting there, dear listener, dear viewer. You might be thinking, why in the world?
The armchair GM.
Why would Damichael Cole let his beloved co-host, Joe Mullinax, both drink and smoke before he hosts a podcast of Locked On Grizzlies? Right. That is extremely irresponsible. Damichael is supposed to be the logical one. But nay, I have never been more clear of mind and clear of heart and clear of spirit as I sit here before you. And I ask a simple question to you, Damichael Cole, before we get started, because I know we disagree very rarely.
Very rarely.
You disagree vehemently with this. But I have a simple question for you, Damichael Cole.
Yep.
Do you believe that the Memphis Grizzlies, as presently constructed, can be a good basketball team?
Yeah, they can be a good basketball team.
They can be a good basketball team. Okay. And in the National Basketball Association, especially for a small market team, what is the best way to acquire elite talent? Are they approaching?
You got to trade for them.
See, you have to trade for them.
Or draft.
One of the two. Okay. We're on the same page to this point.
Yep.
Reports have surfaced that Zion Williamson could likely be had. I believe the quote, Dippin' Dodson. I want to make sure I give him credit. Dodson does a great job covering Pelicans. He's in that area. Others have talked about this as well. The idea of Zion Williamson being available for a halfway decent deal. Okay. To me, that first round pick is what makes what I just suggested a halfway decent deal, because the New Orleans Pelicans infamously do not have a first round pick after the Derek Queen trade. All that stuff that happened over this past summer in the 2025 NBA draft. So what am I suggesting? I am simply suggesting to Damichael Cole the opportunity for the Memphis Grizzlies, as presently constructed, because I don't think anybody would make a legitimate argument that John Conchar, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Brandon Clark are significant, to use your words from a recent episode, significant enough to the current Memphis Grizzlies setup to disrupt that core of good basketball that you allegedly believe in, and you bring in an all NBA talent in the case of Zion Williamson for a low ball offer. Now, as part of this thought exercise, I want to stress, I am not offering New Orleans a single thing more than what I said. This is not a negotiation. I call New Orleans and I say, this is what I am offering to you. Is this the best offer? No, I'm acknowledging that. You want to move off of Zion. You are tired of this era. And the Memphis Grizzlies have a Ja Morant who is maybe not disgruntled, but is certainly embattled. Maybe that's the fairest way to put it as a member of the Grizzlies at the moment. You have a Jaren Jackson Jr. who is struggling. You have this money tied up in these players. And if you believe in this core, Damichael Cole, doesn't it make sense to add the best possible talent you can for the smallest amount of cost? There's a high level of risk. I'm not saying that there isn't in this theoretical.
You think so?
A high level of risk, but the reward is a much higher ceiling for the Memphis Grizzlies. I personally would do this trade in an instant. You disagree. Why?
My mom might be listening right now. Mom, don't
Mom, this is a family podcast, partner.
Don't get Mom. Look, you know my heart, but hell no, absolutely not, Joe. When you told me about this trade, the first thing
you thought I was joking. You thought I was kidding.
The first thing that stood out to me was, okay, there's Jaren. No Jaren's in this. No other, like, it's Brandon Clark, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and I think John Conchar is what you said. So
White Rice
theoretically, the names for Zion Williamson make a lot of sense. But I have stood on this ever since I've started covering this team, ever since I've been introduced to the game of basketball and learned a lot about it. I am real big on the idea of game over name, and you're putting me in one of those positions again because Zion Williamson, add him to a good team. In theory, sounds really good. But if you got Zach Edey's the center, point blank, period. Zach Edey
most significant member of the organization.
Zach Edey is the center.
According to you, he's the most significant Memphis Grizzly.
That's right. I said it. So Zach Edey is the center. Then you got Jaren Jackson Jr. Then you got Zion Williamson. Both of them are starters. Who in the world is playing small forward? I don't want either one of them playing small forward on my team.
You're very smart.
Who's playing small forward? Tell me.
You are smarter than me. You've watched Jaren Jackson Jr. play a lot of basketball.
I have.
Would you say that Jaren Jackson Jr. plays more like a 4 or a 3 offensively?
No, he plays like a 4. He doesn't play like he doesn't play like an old school 4.
What?
If you watch his game,
gentleman is not a 4. He is an offensive. He wants to be a guard more than I want to be a six-pack member of the Magic Mike reunion cast.
No,
all right? That is 100% what Jaren would love to be.
Now,
except without the passing. He wants to be Carmelo Anthony.
He doesn't have the rebounding of a 4.
That's the kind of 4 he wants to be. But Carmelo Anthony also thought he was a 3.
This is my thing. It literally was just talking to, was it Zach Edey, I think? Or Vince Williams Jr. At practice yesterday about this. Like, and it came up in passing because we were talking about, like, how you can kind of maximize players around you and things like that. And we weren't even talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. He just mentioned, like, well, Jaren loves his spacing. So, it's just trying to, create that space for him. If you put a starting lineup, you put Zion Williamson in this starting lineup, the spacing for Jaren is gone. You eliminate that. And
why? Because elite 3-point shooters, Vince Williams Jr. and Cedric Howard aren't on the court.
Nothing to do with Vince Williams Jr. I'm glad that you brought that up because that's my other point. Jalen Wells and Cedric Howard are your two guys. If you want to have the conversation with me about potentially upgrading the Jalen Wells spot at some point, we can get into that. But the way that Jalen Wells has played as of late, that's a prototypical guy who can start for me as a 3 and D2 guard on my team. You got Jalen Wells. I'm not taking him out of the starting lineup. You got Cedric Howard. Definitely not taking him out of the starting lineup. You got your 2 wings. What's the point of moving Jaren or Zion to the wing? And then my last point, Joe, and this is where I'm going to try to convince you, Joe, because this is you. This is you that I'm about to say. This is you, Joe. You're cashing your chips in for Zion Williamson?
What chips?
And what chips? I'm glad that you asked that question. The Grizzlies right now,
You love John Conchar so much. He's the best player in this trade.
This isn't about
He's
that.
the best player in this trade.
When the Grizzlies acquired
orange chicken and white rice, John Conchar is the best player leaving the Memphis Grizzlies in this transaction. That is theoretical.
Stop that. You stop that. You know that's not what I'm saying. But here's where I'm going with this. One of the underrated things about this Grizzlies offseason that just passed is they set themselves up much better to go get that big fish in the future without moving off of one of those top 2 contracts. The Kentavious Caldwell-Pope move, signing Santi Aldama to, a 3-year deal, 16, 17 million a year. That's a good contract. We know about Brandon Clark's contract, which you're putting in there. Last season, they didn't have a lot of contracts to kind of dangle potentially in these bigger deals after they moved Marcus Smart. But they put themselves in a better position to, hey, let's match 2 or 3 contracts to get a contract like Zion Williamson. So you only get one chance to do this. And considering that you already have 2 wings, I think the position, if you want to talk about upgrading, it might be one of those other spots. It ain't the shooting guard, small forward spots right now, and it ain't center. So the point that I'm making is no way. And then the injury concerns, I don't even have to get into all the concerns about Zion Williamson. Like we come in this every season talking about the problems with the injuries. And you're talking about a guy who is out right now. Just had another injury.
Who's an all-NBA talent.
Years ago.
Has the capacity to play this game of basketball at an extremely high level. And oh, by the way, and I want to make sure I shout out correctly here.
Yeah.
At @more_than_looks, Zebo Game 6, 2011 on X.
Mm-hmm.
He called me out a little bit. He figured out part of this.
Yeah.
Zion's contract has a non-guarantee in it due to injury clause. So if it doesn't work out, you could very easily move on from Zion. So that is part of me cheating a little bit in this thought exercise. But here is why I suggest this question. And we can move on because this isn't going to happen. I want to stress that. This is literally me just enjoying watching the world burn on random days.
That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing.
Here's the point of my thought process. You yourself say that Zach Edey is the most significant member of the Memphis Grizzlies. You yourself have said Cedric Coward is the second most significant member of the Memphis Grizzlies right now. And you have number 3 and number 4 that make, in fairness to Jaren, the extension hasn't fully kicked in yet, but currently over $50 million between these 2 players, if not a little bit more than that.
Much more.
And they are not actually being significant players. So I am trying to create a spark. I am trying to say, hey, are you competing? Let's bring back an oldie but a goodie. Are you trying to win a championship or not?
You want to create a spark. You go after Kawhi Leonard. You want to create a spark. You go after Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not creating no spark going after Zion Williamson.
We can replace championship with playoffs or not. And the point of the exercise, Damichael, is the names that you just listed are not realistically obtainable. The Memphis Grizzlies, unless Memphis International has recently added a direct flight to Athens, Greece. I'm fairly confident, having been in that airport a time or two, that's not occurring. That's not an option. Kawhi Leonard, unless we're planting a bunch of trees in Memphis. I mean, Shelby Farms is beautiful. But unless we're planting a bunch of trees in and around FedEx Forum, Kawhi's not coming to Memphis. Zion is the best realistic name that could potentially be had. And all I'm asking is, how good do you think the current Grizzlies are? Let us know in the comments. Hit me up on X at Mullinax. Hit up to Michael C. That's Damichael Cole. How good do you think they are? Because it's hard to argue that losing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, John Conchar, and Brandon Clark and exchanging all of that for an all-NBA talent, it's hard to argue it wouldn't make the Grizzlies better. I like to watch the world burn sometimes. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we are going to discuss Ja Morant, an injury update. Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, was there at practice. Heard from Tomas Isolo day to day. That's an exciting bit of information. Damichael will catch us up next. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by the good folks over at DoorDash. The season is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There might be nights where your team stresses you out. There might be times where your favorite daily podcast on the Memphis Grizzlies makes you seriously consider whether or not Zion Williamson is a viable trade target. But let DoorDash calm you down and give you some post-game or post-show therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert right now. And if the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure that you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. All right, Damichael, I feel like I made you a little bit mad almost there in that last segment. So we'll move on from that topic of conversation because I don't like making you mad. I like to poke the bear every once in a while. I apologize. Guilty as charged.
Sometimes I think of you as that Joker of I think that was Dark Knight when
Heath Ledger. A lot less hair and a lot less hair.
He's walking off as the car's on fire. Like you like to do that from time to time.
Everything burns, baby. Everything burns. Speaking of things burning, the Grizzlies need to burn sage right around the facility, trying to get this team healthy, trying to get the vibes improved, getting all the bad energy out. It seems like things are improving slowly but surely. I know there was an injury update on Ja Morant at practice on Thursday.
Yeah, definitely improving. And you mentioned it, but Ja Morant being day-to-day is definitely considered a positive takeaway. I think that's notable considering, look, he's still listed as out for the upcoming game. So I know that kind of, some people were expecting, I think you yourself too, Joe, you were expecting them to be kind of listed as maybe doubtful or something like that. But so he's still out, but he's doing a little bit more, at practice this point. Like talking to Tomasi Salo, he basically said, he said he's already moving. He's able to do some things with the team. So he's doing some teamwork. The big thing right now is he's doing things, but it's not contact and it's not full speed. So those are the next steps, right? He'll be doing contact stuff here soon. He'll be doing full speed trips. And once he's able to do those things, that's when I think we'll see that Ja Morant will be able to progress to the level of being back on the floor for the Memphis Grizzlies. But obviously, huge update, especially considering the schedule. One, you don't have a lot of games right now. And two, you don't play a lot of good teams right now. So definitely an opportunity here where I think you play the Clippers, then you play the Blazers after that. 2 winnable games without Ja Morant. And, if you're talking about him after those 2 games, after Sunday, the Grizzlies don't have another game until I believe it's Friday. So you got
because it's the cup. You left that part out to Michael Cole because it's the cup. That's why they don't play until Friday, because the eyes of the NBA world are going to be focused on the all-important, all-encompassing, every bit of fiber and energy in your soul is driven by the cup to Michael Cole. That's why.
Do you remember who won the cup last year, Joe? Just curious. Because you don't care. This is funny. Who won the cup last year?
Was it the Oklahoma City Thunder?
They were in the championship.
Okay, so they lost. But they won the actual tournament that matters.
They won the actual tournament.
Okay, so who won the cup?
It was the Bucks. They beat
the Milwaukee Bucks. The thriving Milwaukee Bucks.
Thriving Milwaukee Bucks. For them. Yeah. But that's kind of been the theme. You remember the Lakers won the cup and didn't really turn it into anything. The Bucks. So winning the cup probably is like a curse right now.
Yeah, by all means, keep hyping up this ridiculous event that has very ugly courts.
I set them up for that one.
Yeah, so it's great that the Grizzlies have 4 random days off in the middle of the basketball season. It actually plays off for them here because it allows for the team as a whole to get a little bit of rest and freshness. It's also nice. I mentioned this on an episode this week. There's no travel in that, right? Nope. The Grizzlies play at home on Friday, play at home on Sunday, and then they have literally 4 days to recoup. Sleep in their own beds. And then it's another home game on that Friday. So usually, and I know you know this, but for our audience, oftentimes the Grizzlies medical reports, they're doubtful first, and then they're questionable the next game, and that's usually how it works. But I know you know this too, Damichael. The one exception to that rule over the years has been Ja Morant. I can remember several times where he has been listed as out or listed as doubtful, and he jumps up that next game in not necessarily in that order. Ja seems to be the exception to the rule to these injury updates.
Yeah, and I wouldn't rule that out. Like this is definitely a situation where look, they're just again, it's steps, especially with the calf injuries. You're being careful, and I think they're factoring in the fact that the schedule's kind of weak right now. Like You should be able to. You shouldn't go 0-2 over these next games. 0-3 or even 1-2. You should at least get 2-1 over these next 3 games. If Ja potentially misses the next 3, but if it's the next 2, you should at least be able to split them. And then after that, even the rest of December, you got a very winnable stretch of games. But the other players, there's some, I guess you could say, minor updates there too. I think sometime here soon we'll expect kind of a reevaluation on Javon Small. I think that could potentially come maybe early next week. So we'll get something new there. I know people have asked a lot about Ty Jerome. He's still in the boot right now. He was definitely doing some work. He was dribbling on the floor. I saw him dribbling on the floor and whatnot. So he's keeping the ball in his hand, but he's still in the boot. Of course, Scottie Pippen Jr. is still in the boot. So those guys are a little bit ways away. But Brandon Clark, I mean, I know he said it on the broadcast recently. He said that he was, able to run, dunk, and jump. But I saw it with my own eyes. And, Joe, if you would have saw it, you would have said, shout out Modern Medicine.
I'd be shouting out Modern Medicine
You'd
again?
be shouting out. Look, let me just put it like this. I don't want to overhype it because it was just him jumping off 2 feet, throwing down one-handed dunks. But when I saw it, it definitely looked like some of the explosiveness that we're used to seeing, from the likes of Brandon Clark. And better yet, and this, I didn't even get to use this part of in the Zion trade because you always talk about Jock Landale, and you basically were saying, Jock Landale, be my backup center because I'm trading Brandon Clark. But with Brandon Clark being back, with the way that he looked, I mean, he's progressing well. I'll say that. I think, the timeline has him roughly somewhere back end of December, early January. I think it'll be back end of December. I don't see him being out into January based on what we've seen.
Future Memphis Grizzlies great Zion Williamson still has Damichael Cole flustered here on this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. Hit up Damichael at Damichael. See if you have any further questions about those injury updates. It is good to hear that Brandon is recovering nicely. Shout out to Modern Medicine. I'd love to be able to say that with meaning in my heart once more. Maybe soon I will be able to do so. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we'll close out this edition of the show back in the friendly confines of FedEx Forum. Hopefully you'll be there if you're in the Memphis area watching the Grizzlies take on the very broken Los Angeles Clippers. Should be a victory, but how do the Grizzlies get there? We'll talk about that next. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, just like on Thursday night when the Cowboys were playing the Lions and the Lions score and they go up by 7 early in the game. That is significant because it makes those lines move. Obviously, the Lions become the favorite, perhaps. Lines shift around Dallas. A receiver can get hot. A defense can tighten up. Momentum can flip after a turnover. Just like that, FanDuel lets you jump in on the moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, like I just said, plus player props that update as guys heat up. And you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is closing out on this Friday. Got to get down on Friday. No more hypothetical conversations. I don't want anybody to get too mad at me in the comments or hit me up on social media and question my sanity. Let's get back to actual basketball. The Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Los Angeles Clippers on this Friday. A really important game for the Grizzlies because, as you alluded to, Damichael, it's an easy stretch, easy relative to other games that they could be playing, like against the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Houston Rockets, somebody along those lines. The Clippers are not that. The Clippers have been in the headlines for organizational dysfunction, sending home Chris Paul for being too aggressive of a leader past his prime. This is something that I think the Grizzlies, you talk about dogs, right? Yeah. And you talk about being tough, and you talk about a mentality and trying to develop an identity. I don't think after the events of this week, anybody is going to claim that the Los Angeles Clippers are tough. I don't know how you could. And we know that the Los Angeles Clippers are old. Even though Chris Paul is no longer there, they're still a pretty old basketball team. If it was 2019, the Clippers would be like the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, but it ain't. And James Harden is really the bright spot for this team with bits and pieces of other guys. The Grizzlies will probably have to contend with a high-level performance from a James Harden. But outside of that, how can they take advantage of this Clippers team that might be the biggest disappointment in the entire NBA?
Yeah, I mean, don't you forget Kawhi. Kawhi was the one who really he lit the Grizzlies
but will
up.
Kawhi be there? Will he? I need to see him actually show up and play. I know you read.
We saw it the last time he played against Memphis. He showed up. 39.
He's like a ghost at this point. Is he going to be off planting trees? Is he going to be there physically?
Doing this tree planting.
the ghost of ghost of Clippers past is Kawhi Leonard at this point. So yes, you're correct. Kawhi Leonard obviously also very good. So even though Kawhi is not quite what he was at his peak, he's still one of the better players of the NBA. Him and James Harden are a twosome that you have to contend with.
Yeah, look, Kawhi is really good, and he's had the health problems and things like that. James Harden is having a very resurgent year. That duo was really good in the last game against Memphis, but what was different was those two guys really dominated. I believe James Harden had like 29 points, Kawhi had 39, but the Grizzlies did a really good job of kind of taking away everything else, which led to the win. So if you look at it from that standpoint where the Clippers are able to have big nights from James Harden and Kawhi, and the Grizzlies still can win kind of pretty handily, that makes you feel good, about the Grizzlies' chances, especially at home, in this game. But that Clippers team in the last game that they played, I believe it was against the Hawks, they look much improved. And I know there were some jokes out there like, oh, they got the Chris Paul situation out the way and whatnot. I'm not really buying all of that. But they did look much better in that win against the Hawks. They dominated that game. And look, I'm not overlooking it. But one thing that I really want to focus on in this matchup, too, is the matchup with Zach Edey and Ivica Zubac. That's going to be another good one. I believe the last time that the Grizzlies played the Clippers, Zach Edey had 5 points. We've seen Zach Edey score pretty much almost at will efficiently against all these other bigs. This is one of the top defensive bigs, and Zubac, this is one of those guys, Zach Edey himself has talked about how he looks up to him, and he looks at him and says, those are some of the things that I can do in the NBA to have a successful career. I want to see if Zach Edey's going to be more forceful, right? It's his second time in this matchup. Yeah, he did his thing on the glass. I believe he had 19 rebounds in that game, but 5 points. Zach Edey Zach Edey's on a higher level now. 5 points isn't cutting it anymore. We've already seen him throw up 20s and 30s consistently. So looking forward to seeing how that matchup will play out too. But this is a very winnable game for the Grizzlies. It's a Clippers team it's all over the place right now. And again, the fact that the Grizzlies have already shown that, hey, Kawhi can get 39, James Harden can get 29, and we can still comfortably win has to make you feel good about their chances.
I mean, Zach Edey is the most significant Memphis Grizzly, right? So Zach Edey, you would imagine, is going to do better than 25.
What do you got against that take, Joe? What do you got against that take?
I just like the poke and prod. I think that the thing I have against it is the money that is being spent on Jaren Jackson Jr., and that's kind of where my eyes go, is how Jaren responds to the failure that was his game against the San Antonio Spurs. They were posting he and Ja both on Instagram and those sorts of things. And
hasn't Zach Edey looked much better than Jaren since?
I mean, but Jaren is the one that just got a contract that makes him a near max player. So you either play the way that you're paid, or you become an albatross on your team's books, and that would be quite the turn of events for the Memphis Grizzlies. So Jaren Jackson Jr. picking it up and looking more like a guy that is worthy of the extension he just signed, that would be good to see. And the home cooking in Memphis, both literally and figuratively, will hopefully help Cedric Howard kind of snap out of it, right? It's important to point out he only played 6 games as a rookie, or not as a rookie, excuse me, as a college basketball player last year. Had an injury at Washington State. He's played more basketball than he probably has the last couple of years. A rookie wall happening early in his tenure is not too surprising, but studies and statistics have shown that role players, young players, up and down the list, everybody essentially, and this isn't groundbreaking analysis, people play better at home than they do on the road more often than not. So hopefully this is going to be a chance for Cedric Howard to get back into a rhythm and be that player that we've seen him be, where he was that second most significant Grizzly on that now infamous episode of Locked On Grizzlies. So Cedric Howard, Jaren Jackson Jr., that's where my eyes are going. And you're right. all joking aside, Zach Edey has really progressed in a very rapid sense over the last several weeks, and I do think we'll see an improved showing from him as well. Thank you so much for being with us on this edition of Locked On Grizzlies. It is much appreciated. Thanks for making Locked On Grizzlies part of the best and biggest #1 sports podcast network out there, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, after hanging out with us, go listen or watch Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Damichael, the next time we're together, it will be after a earlier game against the Portland Trailblazers on Sunday. A couple of games to review, Clippers obviously, as well as the Trailblazers. And the Grizzlies have that nice stretch of days off after those two games. Maybe we can talk about the rare time. Coach Islo talks about how hard it is to find real practice time. Maybe the team gets off on Monday, and then they have a couple of days where they can get after a little bit on the practice courts.
Definitely going to have some time to get on the practice courts. I was talking to some of them about that yesterday. Like, this is a very, weird part of the schedule, right? Where you got a chance to, I wouldn't say ramp up the intensity too much at practice because you're still in season and whatnot, but you can get after it a little bit and kind of really just start to fine tune some things a little bit more that you've been working on. Of course, you got a couple guys like Ja getting closer to being back. So, yeah, a very pivotal stretch for the Grizzlies coming up. But these two games are very pivotal, too. Two very winnable games for the Grizzlies.
A very pivotal episode of Locked On Grizzlies coming at you the next time that we are together. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. Make Damichael and myself part of your everyday NBA and Memphis Grizzlies content consumption. Become an everydayer if you are not already one, and continue to help us build up our little corner of the internet that we like to call Locked On Grizzlies. I'm sorry if I made you angry with the Zion Williamson trade, partner. I don't mean to do it.
It's all good.
You
I wonder what the people think. We're
going
to
find out.
There's going to be some people that might agree with that one.
There might be. There was a lot more agreement on X than I thought there would be. I'm not going to lie. So make sure you're hitting us up on the X hitting us up on X at Mullinax at Damichael C. Let us know in the comments how you're feeling. I want to stress, I don't think that's actually going to happen. I think it's a very interesting thought exercise how you perceive the current roster.
But you do it.
And I would do it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying I would do it if I had the opportunity. Wow. Damichael made it very clear he would not do it. What say you?
And for my wonderful Grizzlies.
For my wonderful co-host, Damichael Cole, I am Joe Mullinax. Stay locked in. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will catch you right back here next time on Locked On Grizzlies. See ya.